Well, hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are tuning in with us today. My name is Nicole Curtis. I'm part of the leadership team at She Rises Studios, and I'm joined here with CEO and co-founder Adriana Luna Carlos, as well as these other beautiful women on the screen. And we are the co-authors in the book Me Too, But Never Again, that just released this past Tuesday, which has been an incredible experience and an emotional experience and journey for all of us. I think I can speak on that. We are here tonight to talk to you about taking a stand against sexual abuse, rape, molestation, and sexual assault. And we are here to share our journey of healing with you to help support you, show you love if you are a woman or a man that has experienced this as well or is going through the journey of healing for yourself. We really just want to come to you tonight and just share some love and some information. And I'm really excited for these ladies here to just quickly, if you can introduce yourself, say your name, where you're from, and then the title of your chapter. We're going to then go ahead and dive into some of these panel questions of education to just serve the purpose of helping women and men heal from traumatic traumas. So with that, Rebecca, if you want to go ahead and kick us off.
You bet. I'm Rebecca Chandler. I'm the CEO of Holistic Arizona Healing Ranch and Holistic Finance in Tucson, Arizona. My chapter is how I learned to pray. And I look forward to talking more in the panel about why we chose to be part of this and how we're hoping to help people.
Yeah, thank you, Rebecca. You want to pass it on?
You bet. Let's pass it on to Divya.
Hello, everyone. I'm Divya Chandegra. I'm based in the UK. It's just gone midnight here, so bear with me. The title of my chapter is Moving Through My Fears Freed Me to Find Myself. And I'm really grateful to share this story with you. And I just think not enough of us are talking about our experiences. And that's the purpose of this book. So super grateful to be here. Thank you. Isabella, do you want to go next?
Guys, my name is Isabella Reese, and I am in Las Vegas, Nevada. The title of my chapter is I Am Seen and I Am Heard. I am super excited and honored to be a part of this book because I think that by coming out and sharing my story, it'll help other women and men to come out and share their story and find healing. And I'll pass it on to Madison.
Oh, you're up, Madison.
My dog barked at the same time you were ending. And so it was perfect timing where I was like, I'm pretty sure she probably said my name right now. I'm so sorry. That's just an aspect of my life. Hi, I'm Madison Clark. I have my chapter. It's called, nope, I'm so sorry. Dogs barking scatters your brain for some times. Defying impossible circumstances. And mostly my chapter is about these awful things have happened. Sexual assault has happened to me as a child. But one thing that got me through to it was looking forward to my future and carving out a future that my childhood self would be proud of and excited for.
Awesome. I think I'm next, right?
You got it.
Oh, all right. So for those who have not seen me before, my name is Adriana Luna Carlos, and I'm one of the CEOs of She Rises Studios, and I'm really grateful to be here today for so many reasons. And the chapter of my title is called Psychological Warfare. I picked this title because I truly feel, looking back on the experience that took place in my life for childhood sexual abuse, that it really felt like that. Like my perpetrator was using my age against me, using my lack of life experience and just the situation at hand. So I thought it deemed the best title for what I was going through. And ultimately, my chapter kind of displays what I felt I went through during that time period. And it leaves a lot of innuendos to lead into a different book, but I'm definitely excited for everyone to read, to be able to understand some of the signs that may our family members may not pick up on, or our friends or something like that. Like everyone has something that they've shared in some way, shape, or form of asking for help, and maybe we miss those signs. So I wanted to tell the story in that way. So I'm going to shoot it back over to Nicole.
Thank you, Adriana. Thank you, ladies, for sharing. Again, I'm Nicole Curtis. My chapter title is called Helping Women Heal from Child Sexual Abuse. My journey of experiencing that from a young age and having to go throughout my young adult years, my teenage years, as I've gotten older, of really having to overcome a lot of toxic relationships and heavy binge eating that I spiraled into a lot, having to deal from the trauma. And I'm just really excited that I was able to be part of this book project, especially with all of you beautiful ladies, to be able to share my story and just, like I said, help women heal from child sexual abuse. So I would like to dive into our first question. And Rebecca, I'm going to come to you first. After I ask this question, Rebecca, if you want to start us off, and then each one of us can answer the question, and then we'll start rolling into the other ones. So Rebecca, coming your way is, why did you choose to author in the Me Too But Never Again book?
Right. When it was first offered to me, I thought, oh goodness, do I really want to put this label on my professional life, on me, on who I am and who I'm becoming? And then I realized, absolutely, I need to go this way. I need to share what I've learned. I need to share the tools. I need to share the healing. Last year, I was allowed to learn of the multiple abuses in my childhood and youth. They had remained hidden in my subconscious for decades. From 18 months old to 19 years old, I had a series of abuses. And within the last year, I've come through a phenomenal, exponential healing that I had begun actually in my 20s. So it was about 30 years, a 35-year healing journey that I've been on, knowing something was wrong, knowing something wasn't fitting, it wasn't clicking, it wasn't working. And last year, it all got to open up. So I'm sharing my journey in my writing and in this work and communicating and presenting. I'm sharing this so that hopefully it will help others. One, it'll help others who maybe have also lived in kind of silence and unconscious holding of really traumatic things that have happened to them. And there are many who aren't permitted to see or really to grasp what has happened to them if really hard things happen when they were young. There are many who, when they get to be later in life, I'm 53, so it took being a half a century old for me to have the maturity to handle learning actually what has happened in my life. Explains a lot of things that just didn't fit, that didn't make sense to me. I know that over 2/3 of the world has experienced this kind of trauma, and many sit in darkness, shame, and silence. So my hope is, in sharing my story in this book, that some people will feel empowered and inspired to break out of silence, break out of limiting thinking, break out of unbelief, and begin to understand who they are, why this kind of thing might have happened to them, and how they can actually turn it into compost for fueling something greater than they ever could have approached on their own without this kind of massive emotional healing need. And so hopefully it'll be a help, even if it's just a help to one person. Hopefully the whole book will be a help to many, many more than one person. So I'll pass it on to Divya.
Thank you. Thanks, Rebecca. I know that so many, I mean, we all do, we know that so many people, women, men, experience forms of sexual trauma, harassment, and we just don't talk about it. That's why we've come together for this book. And I know that in the UK alone, there was a survey done by UN Women, I believe, and it's 97% of 18 to 24-year-old women experience some form of sexual harassment. I just can't believe that we live in that type of a society. And on top of that, like 96% of incidents go unreported. We've got to start asking ourselves why, right? And it's because women don't feel like anything will be done about it. And in my chapter, I write about how I create my own evidence log. And that in itself tells you something about our societal conditions, that we don't speak up because we live in fear of someone judging us, or perhaps our partner, or maybe it's because we've allowed this to happen to us, or we're accepting this behavior, maybe because we have a damaged sense of self, or we don't want people pitying us or blaming us. And that's because of the society that we're raised within. And instead of creating safe spaces for others, we tend to turn a blind eye, or we shift the blame to the person who endured the experience. So it's a topic that not only needs to be addressed globally in society as a whole, but also close to my heart is particularly in sort of Asian and Eastern communities, because we're raised to believe that sex and anything associated with the topic is shameful. And elder generations are unequipped, basically, and don't know how to talk to their children about it. And then these behavior patterns then repeat with each generation. And it's really like about the male and female role models, the stereotypes of women being subservient to men and how women are treated, which continues with each generation, until we consciously decide to make changes. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to write in this book, so that I could be a part of changing that narrative. So yeah, that's essentially why I wanted to do this. And should we go to Isabella? I'm just going in the same order.
Yes. So when this topic got brought up to me that was going to be put into a book, I first thought, like, God, like, this is my purpose. You know, like, I've talked about this for a really long time, you know, that I felt like the things that I went through as a kid, as a young adolescent, as a woman now, you know, the things that I'm going through, like, it needs to be in a book. People need to read this, you know, like, I feel that there's a lot of people that can relate to it, a lot of women that can relate. And a lot of times we can't understand, like, why am I feeling like this? Why do I think like this? Why am I like this? You know, it's like, and it's because you don't have anybody to really relate to, you know? And so I think that, you know, that was one of the reasons that I did make the decision to be like, okay, you know what, this is something that I want to be a part of. You know, I know that there's women out there that can relate to me. And I feel that if they hear me speak, if nobody else is going to speak about it, if nobody else is going to talk about it, then I'm going to do it, you know? And I want to be able to let, you know, other victims or, you know, to also find light in speaking what's happened to them as well, you know? So I was like, yeah, I definitely want to share my story. You know, I want other women to share their story. I want other young men, everybody to share their story, you know, and find healing. I have found a lot of healing in writing this. You know, this was hard because, you know, I did get a lot of more triggers and I had to kind of relive everything. And I'm thinking, like, God, why am I doing this? You know, I'm just kind of hurting myself. But actually, I found a lot of healing in that. And a lot of people don't know how much really writing can really help in healing. And so if I can be a part of that movement and start talking about it, we can bring light into these dark places of our lives and other people's lives and just talk about it. So that is why I decided to write my story, as hard as it was because to me, it's like,
I'm going to inspire somebody. It's going to inspire somebody out there to speak up, and they're going to find healing. I feel like that's part of my purpose in this journey. So Madison, your turn.
Yeah, I mean, if I can be completely transparent, whenever the Me Too movement started, I've had friends ask me why I never shared my story during all that. And it wasn't because I was scared. It wasn't because I wasn't ready or not healed from any of it. I just simply didn't want to. I didn't think that was an appropriate outlet for me. Like regarding like social media, just coming out and saying it to friends and family on there and just upsetting people in a what I thought was going to be an inappropriate manner. And then as the years have gone on, I mean, that's been 4 or 5 years now that it really took off, and I didn't want that. I didn't want my name to be recognized as like, oh, she's part of the Me Too movement. Oh, and then like kind of be seen by the uneducated part of the people following it as just a victim, just someone chasing clout, just someone just trying to nitpick things that are going on. But when the opportunity came to write my chapter in the book, writing, just like as Isabella just said, is an outlet for me. I made it into a career for most of my 20s, and going through the process, it was very hard to put not just me, but my mother through that again, and reliving different thoughts and questions and lack of justice and all of that fun stuff that comes with this way of thinking. It was a difficult decision. I'm not gonna lie. It was something that I struggled with to accept. But as soon as it was like, no, like we would like your voice to be heard in this as well. It's like, you know what? I think if there is any way that I can convey this message, it will be through the written word, but not just that, but also with other women that can stand guard with me, that can stand unified with me as well, and understand where I'm coming from. If there's moments of sadness or triggers or trauma again, I have 9 other women immediately, at least, to turn to. And they can all probably say the same thing of, oh my gosh, I felt this way as well, writing about this, and just be there for each other. And so I found a lot of comfort in the numbers, even though it's sad that there's so many women that go through this. I think it was Nicole that said it in our panel last night. 1 out of 3 women experience sexual assault and in their lifetimes. But I mean, we are so much stronger from our support and love with each other, that each one of us are able to be courageous in that aspect. And so I was able to, put my story out there and be proud of what I created, and hopefully be a beacon of light for any mothers or any daughters of really young ages that went through what I went through, to understand that is not gonna, it's not gonna be a disability in your life by any means. You can and will overcome it, and you have a very beautiful future to look forward to despite all that. So I'll just turn this over to Adriana.
Thank you, ladies. I mean, I think we're all on the same mission, so I'll keep mine short and simple. It's ultimately, in my opinion, me joining this collaboration is about normalizing telling what happened rather than normalizing the fact that we stay quiet. It's time for a change. And then the other part is, the more we do this, we actually share and we give people the comfort to embrace being vulnerable. A lot of individuals don't know how to be because they've never done it. And aside from the sexual abuse and trauma in general, there's a lot of generations to where and a lot of this comes from friend groups in my family, myself, but not a whole bunch in this way. But there's a lot of families that don't take a lot of time to sit and talk about things in general. Just like being vulnerable being in a room and talking for hours about feelings and emotions. My super, super close families, yes. Like my immediate family did. Extended families, we didn't. Like, I don't know a lot about them. I don't know what makes them, super happy or really sad, or what I can do to lighten up their day. And it's because we're not used to having conversations like that with people that we're not super close to. But I think that the more we learn that it's okay to spread happiness, and it's okay to talk about things that have hurt us. To me, this is more than just, sexual abuse. It's about being vulnerable. We are all people first and foremost. We're all human, and we need to talk. We are social beings, and this is a topic that needs to be discussed more.
Thank you, Adriana. Thank you, ladies, for sharing. I'll take a few seconds to answer it for myself. Why I joined the book was when I was trying to be on my healing journey through everything that I experienced. And I spiraled, like I said, into that continuous creating toxic, being in toxic relationships and heavy binge eating. I remember there was a moment where I was in my car and I wished there was a book that I could read, or a story from a woman that I could read, that I could just not feel alone. I was feeling so dirty and ugly and desperate, and I just had all these feelings, and I wanted a book that I could read where I didn't feel alone, where I felt beautiful, because for a long time I didn't believe I was, and I didn't feel beautiful. And I felt just completely lost and broken and shameful and so much guilt. And that is one of the biggest reasons why I joined this book, because it's something that I wanted, and I knew that there was value there, and I wanted to be part of something that could, like what Rebecca said, that could just help one woman's life, or one young lady's life, or one young man's life, of knowing that they're not alone, that they are worthy, they are beautiful, they are seen, and they are understood. And just like what Adriana was mentioning too, starting to have the conversations and start talking about it. And so we're going to move to the next question. Again, ladies, if we can try to do 1 to 2 minutes, because this is a two-parter. How did you begin the process of healing, and what has been the hardest part in your healing journey? So Rebecca, we're going to start with you.
You bet. I began my healing journey in my teens when I was first taken to art therapy counseling. We didn't really know what we were looking for, but I was taken for whatever reasons my parents thought. I continued in counseling on and off throughout my life, but my real healing journey kicked into gear about 20 years ago, when I realized who I was being and who I am were not the same. In fact, they were in conflict. And now I own and run a healing ranch with my acupuncturist husband, and it's his work that has helped me over the past 18 years to truly overcome the embedded shock that's been in my nervous systems, with all this trauma just locked in my muscles, locked in my body. It's been a very slow process of letting a little bit out at a time. If it all came out at once, it could have been fatal, I believe. So it's been necessary to let it out. And that truly, for me, has been the hardest part. I wanted it over. I wanted it done. I wanted to come in from one session, have it all done. And that's not how it works. One, it was massive, and it would have been truly potentially life-ending to have had it flood over all at once. One, I emotionally, mentally, I don't know that I could have handled it. But each layer of healing that's been opened up through the physical energy work and the spiritual work that I've been learning and doing as well, each layer has made me better, has made me a better person. And so my healing journey will probably never end because I'm always seeking to become better and improve. So those have been my healing journey parts. Divya, how about you?
Thank you. Yeah, and I think for me, my healing journey, I think, has been more about learning and consciously identifying my childhood program. So I never wanted to feel like I was a burden to others. I didn't understand my self-worth. Learning that it's okay to ask for help. You know, after having developed coping mechanisms from my childhood that led me to become super self-sufficient and hyper independent, knowing sort of what's acceptable and what's not. So I guess my healing journey started when I found the courage, partly started actually when I found the courage to speak up to and share my experience with my parents. That for me was the hardest thing to do, because I was standing up for myself, going against convention, and instead of brushing it sort of under the carpet, it was about making a decision to press charges. And I was super stressed out. And my soul was saying, I can't let him get away with this. The thought of terrorizing other women was just, it was so unbearable. And at the same time, my logical mind was saying, and my cultural programming was saying, don't make a big deal out of it. And, you know, what about your family name and your reputation? And how will this look to other people, and what if it goes to court? All of which, you know, happened. But yeah, for me, that was the hardest thing, battling through the mental and the emotional divide at that particular point in the journey. So yeah. Isabella?
So for me, I think that the hardest part of healing was trying to kind of be forgiving. You know, forgiveness was really hard for me. But it finally came to me, you know, like I was sitting there one day and I was just like, I'm so tired of being angry. I'm so tired of feeling this feeling inside of me. Like I know I'm more than that. Like this is something that's really ugly. And it really hurts you physically, you know, hanging on to that rage, to that anger. And I was sitting there and I'm like, I'm so tired of it. And I don't want to feel this anymore. And how do I make this go away? You know, and I'm sitting there and she was like, I just want it to go away. And then I just looked up and I'm like, I've never been alone. God's always been there. Like, you've always been here, God. Like, and then I just felt like, you know, and this is like my own little testimony, you know, but I just felt like this hug, you know, that nobody can give me, you know, and I just said, you know what? I need to go to church, you know? And so I picked up all teary-eyed and I went to a church and I explained to the pastor what I was feeling, you know, and like we weren't really taught like a certain religion growing up or anything, you know, so it was just like I was just kind of like drifted to this place, you know. It was like just God brought me to this place, you know. It really was God. And then I left there that day. I don't know what happened, but I cried and I cried and they prayed for me. And then I left and I was like, I can breathe. Like for the first time ever, I can really breathe. And then I just felt like if God can forgive me for all of these things that I've done, because I think, you know, when you go through these things as an adolescent, there's a lot of decisions that I made that, like, you know, this is something we'll talk about a little bit more. But like, there's, you know, I couldn't really forgive myself for a lot of things either. You know, I'm like, and God forgives me and He loves me, and I've never been alone. And I just felt like I want to feel that too. You know what? Like, people are not perfect. You know, we all make mistakes, you know, and some more than others, but we are all worthy of being forgiven and we're all worthy of being loved. And sometimes people hurt others because they don't know what love is, you know, and so that's kind of what helped me. And I'm like, I need to be forgiving, you know, especially because I want my kids to be forgiving. There's a lot of generational things that my family went through, and we couldn't get over it because we can't forgive one another. All we do is just reprimand and point fingers, but where's the love? Where's the forgiveness? And so that's what helped me. It was the most difficult thing, but that is definitely the thing that helped me go through my healing journey, was being forgiving. And Madison.
That, first of all, that was awesome, Isabella. That was so beautiful. I can't wait to read your chapter. But so I think my healing process, I'm very lucky and I'm very blessed for the mother that I have, because she absolutely carried the burden of all of it from when it happened, so that I didn't have to feel it, so that I would never have to feel guilty or nasty or anything, or like it was my fault. My mother carried a lot of that burden, and I would say it wasn't probably until like my late teens that I noticed that I do have a hard time opening up. I have a hard time letting people into the more intimate places of myself. On the outside and on a very shallow basis, I come off as very open and very willing to share myself and very transparent. But I realized it's a very manipulative veil that I put over to make you think that you know me, but you don't. It's because I didn't know myself either. And it's because I did have a piece of identity taken away from me in a sense that I suppressed. No one's to blame for that. It's just how my brain worked at that time. So suppressing all of that and then having to ask questions about explaining my side of the story and this, and my mother, yep, this is what happened, or this is, yeah. So having to put both of us through it again continuously has always been a hard part. It's always been a bump in the road in the journey. And then the hardest part is just trying to have relationships with romantic relationships, just knowing that even at 26 years old, I'm not ready for that. And one day I will be. I have faith in that. But there's still the pieces of me that still need to be, wiped down a little bit more so I can see clearly. And I don't want to put anyone else through that, because they don't need to figure out who I am. I need to figure out who I am. Therefore, then I can present it to you. And that's been hard, and it's been a journey, but I'm thankful for every step of it. And so, Adriana, I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
Thanks, Madison. Yeah, I think it's similar for me in the sense of like me learning what I was like my triggers, I guess, and what I kind of showed to know that I was hurt. I would have a lot of family members ask me, "Why are you so angry, Adriana? You're always so angry. You're hostile." Like when I was little, as I was getting older, I would have if anyone kind of came too close to me, I'm like, "Why are you so close to me?" And I wanted to get away. And I noticed that even in school, I would go to school, someone would come behind me like, "Oh, pat me on the back," and I would jump. I would just be so twitchy. And it used to be a joke, like, "Oh my God, she's always so nervous," and we would laugh it off. But as you start to become aware of like, okay, why is this happening? Knowing that I'm the only person in my family, knowing that this was happening to me, I was like, well, of course I'm mad because, this person is messing with me, but I didn't say anything. Right. But there was more to that. Why was I so angry? It was because I couldn't understand why it was happening to me in the first place. Like, why me? Why did it have to happen? Why did you have to decide to hurt our family? Because the person that did this to me was in our family. It was anger of just not understanding why this was placed to me. So the healing process became I became aware that I needed to be healed once I realized that I was hurt. Like, it takes time sometimes to realize you're even hurt. and that your body is just so naturally, instinctually giving off signs that even sometimes you don't notice. So the healing process honestly came from me of I gravitated to music a lot. Like I just went in my own world. I had my back in the day, CD players. I took it with me to school every day. I listened to Journey all the time. I was obsessed with being in my own world, going through my feelings, listening to my thoughts, asking myself questions, just becoming a true deep thinker. And I would also say like my grandmother, she had passed away right before this started to happen, and she was the person that I would talk to, and communicate with and say, hey, I'm struggling today. So I picked someone in my life that unfortunately wasn't there anymore, but I could speak to. I could have the comfort of being the most vulnerable that I could ever be. And I think the hardest part in the healing journey overall was acknowledging the fact that I was hurt, and then trying to understand that, because I didn't go to therapy. I still really haven't gone. And it's crazy to say and to think, because it's like, we know it's needed, it's necessary, but communication is a form of therapy 100%. So the more we talk about these things, the more you can naturally become healed. So it's a moving piece in it. It's not the only solution. But I'll pass it to Nicole.
Goosebumps. Thank you, ladies, so much for sharing all of that. For me, how I began my healing process was I went to a lot of counseling. I did a lot of therapy as a young child in my teens. But there was a moment when I was in my 20s and I was at college, and I was given this book called What Do You Say When You Talk to Yourself? And I think the guy that wrote it is Shad Malaster, I think his name is. I should have been more prepared. But when I read that book, because at that time, I was just sick of I was done just being gross. I was done of feeling all the feelings that I wanted to be happy. I wanted to be able to thrive. I wanted to be able to live my life and not constantly be in my head and my feelings of just all of those emotions of just feeling yuck and not accepted and beautiful and worthy. Like I wanted to become my own hero. I wanted to become a warrior. And when I read that book, it was the first time, I will never forget it. I was in my car. I'm going to try not to cry. But I took a piece of paper, like a receipt, and I had a pen, and I wrote, "You are beautiful." And I put it on my dash where the speedometer and all of that was. And it was the first time I ever wrote something positive to myself to visually look at. And that started my journey of that self-talk, of that personal growth. And it just kind of bloomed from there. Like, it wasn't just in the car, it was in my room, it was in the, coffee pot where it was everywhere. All these just little notes of, you are beautiful, you are worthy, you are seen, you are heard, you're needed, you have value. And so for me, that was when, like, my journey of healing actually really started, outside of all the, counseling and things that I went to. And the hardest part of my healing journey, if I can be really transparent, is being okay with not being okay, and not thinking that if I'm kind of spiraling, or I'm starting to kind of go into my head, that it's okay to go back there to then move forward again, instead of feeling like I shouldn't be doing this, I should be over this, I'm good now. Just really allowing myself, as I'm getting older and evolving, that it's okay to revisit things in that personal growth, and that it's okay not to be okay. And that's honestly the hardest part of my healing journey, is just accepting that and just being okay to that. So our last final question, ladies, let's take 1 minute for each one of you to answer. What is one thing that you can share with women who have experienced this type of trauma? Rebecca, we're going to start with you.
Okay, I'm going to talk really fast. Just joking. I'm not gonna do it. One thing I
You're
would
being
share is our
kind.
life has a purpose. Each trial we endure has the power to refine us, to become more loving, kind, forgiving, patient, more beautiful, full of goodness. We're placed here. We were placed here at this time as some of the strongest spirits that have ever lived on earth. We have enormous loving power to overcome invasive hardship and trauma, to become like our heavenly makers, who I know as our Father in heaven and his Son, Jesus Christ. We chose to be here at this time. This is one of the hardest times in all history of people on earth. But we chose to be here because we had strong characters, because we are strong spirits. The adverse things that come to us in our lives can actually help us in radical ways to bring us closer to our Father in heaven, to our maker, our heavenly maker, and to the best being, the best self that we can become. Divya.
Thank you, Rebecca. I guess my one thing would be is that acknowledgement that every one of our experiences will be different, and that every single woman or man that experiences some form of emotional, mental, or physical violation will be impacted in a very unique and individual way, because each of our childhood wounds will be different, our upbringing will be different, and our backgrounds will be different. And at the same time, we can all learn to let go of the trauma that we're holding on to and start our healing journey by acknowledging that what is or what has happened is real. Going back to what Adriana said earlier, and that we're all here and we can help others find their way to self-acceptance and ultimately to unconditional love for self. Isabella.
So I guess all I can say is healing is here. You know, you're not alone. You've never been alone. You'll never be alone. You know, you've got us, you know, for support. And I know there's a lot of support groups. A lot of people are starting to speak out and come out and tell their stories. And I support you and I support your healing process. And we are here for you.
Yeah, I think what I would say is I highly recommend never trying to understand the perpetrator's mindset, because if you're a decent human being, you won't. And if you do, start praying. But I would just recommend don't beat yourself up trying to understand how and why this happened to you. Understand that I really don't think anything happens in vain. Rebecca said it best. There can be absolute trash in this world, absolute filth, but it's up to you to clean it up and make flowers and a garden bloom out of all of it. Because your future is yours to take. It's not your perpetrator's, and it's no one else's. Your life is still your life, and live it to the fullest.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is to know it's not your fault. Honestly, you didn't choose to have this happen to you, and what happened to you is it's not something that you should feel responsible for. You did not say, please do this to me. The biggest thing that I've thought in my journey was, I could have stopped this. I could have done this. I could have done that. It was a lot of self-blame. And when you realize that it should have never been that way in the first place, you realize it was never your fault to begin with. So the biggest thing I can tell you, it is not your fault, ladies. So don't make it your fault. It's not your fault.
Wow. Thanks so much, ladies, for sharing just everything that you shared and being vulnerable and being willing to just have that servant heart of wanting to help women and men, that have experienced such traumatic experiences such as this. Like we're all different. We've all experienced different types of trauma. And the thing that I would like to share is for you men and women that are watching, that you have had these traumatic experience happen. We see you and we love you and we're here for you and we're available anytime. Send us a message, reach out to us. Get the book, Me Too, But Never Again. Take it with you wherever you go and lean on it, because we wrote this book. We shared our chapters to give love and support to you, to take wherever you go, wherever you are, that when you need that friend, when you need that support, when you need to feel that love, when you need to feel that hand or that hug, that is what this book is for. So that's the thing that I would like to leave. And we're going to wrap up tonight. If any of you ladies have any kind of closing comments or anything that you'd like to say, just go ahead and unmute yourself. Nope. Awesome. Well, thank you everybody who joined us, who was watching. Again, Me Too, But Never Again. It came out Tuesday. And we will be back here next week, Tuesday, December 6th at 4 p.m. Pacific time, doing another panel discussion of a whole new topic within this book, our journey and our experience. And if you need to reach out to any one of us, our names are on the screen. You can come find us, and or you can go to SheRisesStudios.com. There's a contact section button there if you need some support or help in any way. And with all of that, thank you, ladies, everybody, all of you, for showing up and just speaking your truth and being vulnerable. Ladies, you are incredible. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, night, or evening, wherever you are in the world. Bye, everybody.